let's start towards the beginning. As a teenager, you were in a group called Pop Life with a bunch of your mates, and then you end up placing 4th on America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that experience and what you learned?
Well, I was in middle school going to high school, and I had just went from being a dancer to a singer at the art school. And one day, so there's a group called Tony, and they're like a famous R&B group. They had all these sons, and all the sons went to my school. And one day, the piano player walked up to me at school, and he's like, yo, I heard you can sing. If you're down, can you sing to my dad? And I'm like, oh, I'm so not a singer yet. Like, I just joined the singing, part of this school. And so he brought his dad over, who's like this famous R&B singer from like the 90s that I grew up listening to. And I sang to him, and he was like, yo, you're on, come do auditions at my house. So I ended up auditioning with a couple other girls who are like well into their career right now. So it's really cool that we all made it to this place. And we were a performing traveling band for a good 3 years. And then by the time we went on the show, it was like we were at rehearsal one day, and the dad walks in and he's like, yo, I have a really cool opportunity if you guys want to go audition for America's Got Talent. And we were like, what? Of course, sure. So we did the audition process, and there's a famous first episode of them trying to split the band up and me saying I'm not, that really isn't my thing. And we came in this together and wanted to finish together. And we were honestly just excited that we even made it that far. We didn't think we would make it that far. So to have became season finalists at 16 years old was like, it changed my entire world, so.
Yeah. And what were some of the most valuable lessons you learnt from getting that kind of an introduction to the music industry? And I imagine if you had placed first, your career might have gone in a completely different direction to where you are now.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody who really places first on those shows musically on the show that isn't focused on music ever really gets to play that out in the way that they want to. But I think the biggest lesson I learned is, one, how to be professional at such a young age. We were showing up on set every single day, in hair and makeup by a certain time, doing camera blocking, meeting with executives, meeting with all these different people, and really facing fears. It was a big nervous wreck having to get on stage knowing, okay, I'm singing in front of a room full of people, but then I'm also singing in front of all of America who's watching right now, and then they're voting. And then really dealing with criticism, I think, was a big part of that, because we had judges every single day telling us at 16 years old if we sounded good or not, or if we looked good, or what we needed to work on. And that was a big thing, I think, for us to have to, like a hump for us to get over. But once we really understood that and learned to take everything constructively, it was like we were anxious for what the judges were going to say so that we could grow.
Yeah. And then after the show finished and you went back home and then came to LA and started working more on your own stuff, what was that like when you were first starting to work on things on your own?
It was scary because I was so used to having, 5 boys with me at all times as my band, as my brothers who I was traveling with and in the studio with and working with at all times, and walking in places by myself without management at the time, without a team, without my band. It was like, whoa, like, I don't really know how to do this. I hadn't even really made music yet. I'd only sang cover songs and performed, and I've been a performer since I was 13 years old, but I didn't make my first song until I was 17 or 18. So it was scary at first, but I was determined, and I knew that, if I worked really hard and really, really focused, that hopefully something would come out of it. So I've just stayed prayed up and focused, yeah.
Yeah. And when you were 17 and you wrote your first song, as you said, how did you land on the sound of Kehlani?
I think it was like troubleshooting. It was like trying a bunch of things and seeing what worked. I was, like I said, in a cover band, so I was used to just singing everybody else's songs and singing what I grew up with and like what made me feel good. And I think that really influenced what kind of music I wanted to make, because I knew what felt good to sing, and I knew like who made me really happy when I sang, and what kind of lyrics made me really happy when I got to sing it, because I kind of based all my music on what's going to feel good to perform, because that's just the background that I came from. So I think when it became like, R&B with some 90s influence and a lot of pop influence, I think it was just, that's going to make me really happy to sing on stage and to connect with people through, so.
Yeah. And then a few years after that, now we take it to January of last year when you released your first major label album, Sweet Sexy Savage, or Sweet Savage
you got it right.
Sexy. Okay, good. I was a little bit worried as well that I might accidentally call it CrazySexyCool, the TLC album. Was that a considered reference you were making?
It actually wasn't considered till after. So the story is, we were laying on the beach in Hawaii and we had all these songs and we were like, yo, what do we call this? And my A&R sitting there, and he's like, yo, because what I love about him so much is he's really involved, and he like travels with us and comes to the studio, and like, it's just, shout out Jeff On, love you. He was like, yo, there's so many different aspects in this. It's kind of sexy, it's kind of sweet, it's kind of savage. And my manager was like, wait, say that again. And it was like, yeah, it's kind of sweet, it's kind of sexy, kind of savage. And we were like, yo, that's so tight. Like, sweet, sexy, savage, it's perfect. You're kind of all three. And then we considered the fact that it sounded like Crazy Sexy Cool. It was like, you're paying homage, and you can never go wrong showing respect for people who paved the way for you. And TLC definitely paved a major way for me. So it's just giving thanks in a little way.
Yeah. And I've also heard you reference the title of the album, Sweet, Sexy, Savage, as also being a reflection of the complexity of a woman.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that idea?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was really me understanding that as women, especially as women in the spotlight, we're expected to lead a certain kind of way and like be a certain kind of woman that isn't really representing all women or inclusive of all women in general. And it's like, I didn't want to be like the girl who's gonna sit there and just sing heartbroken songs or just sing I'm so much better than you songs or I'm just this damsel in distress princess, because granted, we can be that sometimes. We can also be the I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna destroy. We can also be the I don't need you or I do need you, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're just really, really complex, and I think that we get thrown in these boxes because that's just what society always has made us, is this woman has to play this womanly role, and we're just a human, like a man is a human, like any person is a human, and it just felt right to me that this fit all sides of who I am. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more words that could go into that list other than sweet, sexy, and savage, but that one worked really well. So
yeah, cool. And you've also been pretty open about, well, you're a little bit shy with media interviews, which I've been told, as well as some anxiety yourself. So how do you deal with that part of you? But then there's an expectation as a performer that you have to be so public and on all the time. How do you manage that?
Well, I was really shy about it and like really nervous because I've had a lot of things used against me. But once I realized, one, life is way too short, and that as long as you can make a positive influence in one person's life, it doesn't matter how many people have anything negative to say. As long as one person every single day gets up and tells me like, you're making a positive difference and you're changing my life in a good way, anybody who takes 5 minutes out of their day to say something negative that they're not even gonna think of 5 minutes after that, it doesn't matter. So I just started letting it all go and letting go really the attachment that people that say something negative about me don't actually like me. Sometimes people just have an opinion and let it go. And they're not sitting there plotting every day on how much they hate you and dislike you. It's just something that they let off into the world and like let pass. So once I just fully accepted that, I'm just like solely focused on who loves me, and that's it.
Yeah. I imagine it would be pretty hard dealing with all of that pressure and all of those eyes looking on you as well. And you have been really open as well in the past about your own struggles with mental health, as well as supporting your fans who have their own struggles. Why is it important to you to raise awareness around those issues?
I feel like when I was growing up, like you didn't really know much about your favorite artist until there was like a VH1 Behind the Music or like a documentary where they kind of explained everything. And then as an adult, you're like, wow, like if I would have heard that when I was little and I listened to them, it could have made a difference because this is someone that I listened to. And that if they told me to jump, I would jump. Or if they told me to swim, I would just dive in and swim. Imagine if every artist was like, yo, I struggle too, but I can get through it so you can too. There'd be so many kids who, just because their favorite artist and someone that they really believed in gave them, you know, a moment of empowerment, that they could really take that and run with it. And I just felt like, why not? Like I get mostly that when I meet people is you do something for me personally, you do something for me, you know, mentally and spiritually, more than it's just like, oh, I turned this on and I like the song. So I just try to keep consistent with that.
And when you say that, it reminds me or makes me think of Mariah Carey's recent admission that she was bipolar, which makes me reflect in an entirely different way on how she was perceived in the media 15, 20 years ago. So yeah, it's great that people are talking about that stuff now.
Completely.
Yeah.
I love you, Mariah. I stan.
Me too, big time. And so this is your third visit to New Zealand in the last 8 months. So you must have gotten to know the place pretty well now.
Well, I have friends here, so they take me around and they show me some stuff, and I like certain restaurants. It's my first time in this area, I think, like downtown or the city part. But I played a festival recently. that was like out in the countryside.
Oh yes, stunning.
It was so beautiful. So yeah, I like New Zealand a lot. Yeah.
And you got a tattoo last time you were here?
I did. It was a gift.
Cool.
So this guy, I wanted to shout his Instagram out, but it's slipping me at the moment, but you can see it on my Instagram. He DM'd me when I was in Australia and said that he wanted to fly himself out to Australia to come give me this tattoo as a gift, and that it was traditional, and that I didn't really understand at the time the weight of what it meant to get it, but when he flew himself and he sat down and he played music and he prayed over me and he listened to a story that I told him and designed a specific tattoo out of the story that I told him and gave it to me as a gift and said, you know what, nobody can tell you about this because I'm giving you this as a gift from my people, from my country to you. And I just feel honored that he even wanted to, let me receive this. So.
Yeah, that's really special.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm having it for life.
Cool. And I also wanted to mention 3 women I know you love. There's 3 women I love as well. Cardi B, SZA, Beyonce. You mentioned them on your Instagram earlier this week.
Yeah.
What is it about them that you love, and what does their success mean to you?
Well, Beyonce is Jesus, so everybody knows that. I think what's so important to me about SZA right now is she is a beautiful chocolate brown woman who is like taking over the planet right now. Like, as much as people don't want to say and admit that colorism is a thing, it's extremely a thing. And to see someone of her color and her stature and looking how she looks, as extremely beautiful and as talented as she is, winning 100% in first, I don't think anybody can wish for anything more. That's beautiful, and it's empowering to every single little girl in America who is of color. And I think that's just my favorite part. She's very honest and vulnerable and is not afraid to be that and stand in all of her truths at every single moment. Cardi, same thing. I think we come from the same place, not literally the same place in America, but like the same kind of background, the same hood, the same struggles. And seeing someone who doesn't forget that and takes it everywhere with her and isn't afraid to be exactly as hood as she is so admirable, because when you get into this industry and you come from a place like that, their first thing is like, oh, we're gonna send you into media training and we're gonna teach you how to talk and we're gonna teach you how to, she doesn't need any of that. And she's super intelligent and she just deserves everything that she gets. And I don't have any words for Beyonce because she's just God, so there's that.
Yeah, she doesn't need our words, she knows it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I did also want to ask you about your work featuring on songs, for example, on your song with Cardi B, Ring, and how things like that come about. What it is about a song that makes you want to work on it or contribute to it, or a particular artist you want to work with?
I think really it's about the person. Sometimes a song can be, sometimes somebody sends me a song and it isn't the song that we should be doing together, and we figure out another song we can do together if we like each other that much. I think for me it's just really believing in people. And I feel like a lot of artists right now, which is really special, really give you something to believe in because they show their personality and they're showing their story and they're showing who they are. And that's why I think people really are drawn to Cardi so much, and why I was drawn to Cardi so much is because she isn't afraid to tell that story and she makes you want to love her and root for her. So that's what made me want to get on that song. And I think that we both acknowledge that about each other. We met a while ago when she was first starting, and they brought her into one of my interviews, and I got to tell her, in person, I see you and you deserve everything that's about to come to you. And it came to her, and just to see it exploding further and further is really crazy. And that's just how it is with every feature that I do. I just have to really love you as a person. So,
what's your end game with this, with your career, with your music?
I don't really have expectations because when I decided to pursue this professionally, the only thing I ever dreamed of is I just want to be able to pay my rent, and I just want to be able to eat food every day, and I just want to be able to get my mom a crib. And so all the extra stuff that comes with it, like the accolades and the nominations and the being acknowledged by different things, it's super beautiful, but it isn't what necessarily fuels me. I'm just grateful to be here and be healthy and be alive and be able to travel. And I never thought I'd have a passport. I never thought I'd play on stages bigger than block parties with my band. You know what I'm saying? So everything that happens is a blessing, and I don't really have a plan for the end game. I just want to keep traveling and keep making songs that hopefully connect people and be able to put my friends and people that I love in positions to be able to feel how I feel, and that's really it.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, I had fun.